I stood at the gates of the venue I had paid for, staring at my own photograph beneath the words, "Do not let him in." The guests streamed past me in their finery, chattering about the beautiful day, oblivious to the father barred from his daughter's wedding. Without a word, without a scene, I turned and walked to my car. They wanted me gone? They would discover what my absence truly meant. 4 hours later, my phone began ringing. By then, it was far too late. Before we continue, please subscribe to stay updated on our latest stories. The parking lot of the countryside venue was already full. Elegant cars lined up in neat rows beneath the linden trees. I parked and stepped out, adjusting my tie. My heart was pounding like a schoolboy's before an exam. The day we'd been preparing for months had finally arrived. "Oh, look who's here!" a familiar voice called out. Andrew, my daughter's colleague, was walking toward the parking area with his wife. Something strange flickered across their faces. Surprise? Embarrassment? But they quickly smiled. "Wait, you came after all?" Andrew's wife said, her voice a bit too bright. "I thought, didn't Emma say you weren't feeling well?" "Feeling well?" I laughed. "It's my daughter's wedding day. I wouldn't miss it for the world." They exchanged that look again, longer this time. "Nervous, father of the bride?" Andrew asked, clearly changing the subject. "Absolutely terrified," I admitted with a chuckle, running my hand through my hair. 5,000 just for the flowers, and I'm still worried I'll trip walking her down the aisle. "Right, the flowers," his wife murmured. "Well, you look great." I spotted my sister-in-law near the entrance, elegant in navy blue, checking her phone. When she looked up and saw me, her expression froze for just a moment before she waved. Something felt off, but wedding jitters make everyone act strangely, don't they? "I should head in," I told Andrew. "Need to check if the band's set up properly. You know how musicians can be." "Right, of course," he nodded quickly. "See you inside." I walked toward the main entrance, my mind running through the checklist. Flowers, check. Band, hopefully check. Photographer, should be setting up. The catering deposit I'd paid last week, better have secured us those crab appetizers Emma specifically requested. The venue was beautiful, exactly what Emma had dreamed of. White draping everywhere, fairy lights strung between ancient oak trees, a dance floor that had cost more than my first car. Every detail perfect, every expense justified. This was my little girl's day. The security guard stepped forward as I approached the gate to the ceremony area. "Excuse me, sir, can I see your invitation?" "Invitation?" I repeated, pulling out my phone to show the family group chat with all the wedding details. "I'm the father of the bride." The guard's expression didn't change. Professional, polite, unmovable. "I'm sorry, sir, but I need to see an actual invitation. Those are my instructions." A laugh bubbled up from my chest. Surely this was some kind of mix-up. "Look, I paid for this whole thing, the venue, the flowers, the band, everything. This has to be a mistake." "Sir, if you could just step over here for a moment." The second guard gestured toward a small table near the gate where a folder lay open. And that's when I saw it. My own face staring back at me from a printed photograph, paper clipped to what looked like a guest manifest. Beneath it, in neat block letters, "Do not allow entry under any circumstances." The world went very quiet around me. The chatter of arriving guests, the distant sound of the string quartet warming up, the rustle of leaves overhead, all of it faded to a dull hum. "There must be some mistake," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew there wasn't. The photo was recent, from last month's family barbecue. Someone had planned this. "I'm sorry, sir, but these are our instructions from the bride's family." My hands were surprisingly steady as I pulled out my phone and dialed Emma's number. It rang once, twice. "Dad?" Her voice was breathless, distant. Wedding day chaos. "Emma, sweetheart, there seems to be some confusion at the gate. The security won't let me in. They have my photo here saying, 'Oh.' Just that. 'Oh,' like she'd been waiting for this call. What do you mean, oh? Emma, what's going on?" A pause that stretched too long. In the background, I could hear voices, someone calling her name, the photographer probably wanting another shot. "Dad, look, this was a group decision. We talked about it and we thought it would be better if you didn't come. Less drama, less stress for everyone." The phone felt heavy in my hand. "Less stress? I'm your father." "I know, but look, I'm really busy right now. This is my day, okay? Please don't make this harder than it already is. I have to go." The line went dead. I stood there for a moment, staring at the phone screen, aware of the guards watching me with professional sympathy. Around me, guests continued to stream through the gate, showing their elegant invitation cards, laughing about the beautiful weather, commenting on how romantic the setting was. Without another word, I turned and walked back to my car. But I didn't drive home. Instead, I sat in the driver's seat and dialed a familiar number. Margaret, it's me. Sorry to call you on Saturday. Oh, hi there. My accountant's voice was warm, confused. What's going on? Aren't you supposed to be at the wedding right now? Well, that's the thing, Margaret. I'm sitting outside the venue, and they won't let me in. They have my photo at the gate with instructions not to allow me entry. There was a long pause. What? What do you mean they won't let you in? You're the father of the bride. You paid for everything. I know. I leaned back in my seat, and despite everything, I felt the corners of my mouth lifting into something that might have been a smile. I know exactly what I paid for. This is unbelievable. How can they do this to you, after everything you've done for that family? Margaret's voice was getting heated on my behalf, which was oddly comforting. Margaret, I said quietly, and something in my tone must have caught her attention because she went silent. Where exactly are we with the final payments for today's vendors? A pause. When she spoke again, her voice was careful, professional. Well, the deposits are all cleared, obviously. The final payments are scheduled to process Monday morning, as usual. The catering balance, the band's remainder, the photographer's final fee, the venue's closing payment. Why? Just wondering. I was still smiling. Just wondering. Margaret, I continued, my voice steady as granite, in about an hour, when the reception is in full swing, I want you to start calling the vendors. Tell them there's been a change in payment authorization. A change in. Her voice trailed off as the implications sank in. Half the list, I'll take the other half. Catering, photography, venue management, floral cleanup, transportation, everyone who's expecting their final payments Monday morning. Let them know those payments have been indefinitely postponed. The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. When Margaret finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I watched a young couple walk through the gates, laughing about something, their invitation cards gleaming in the afternoon sun. They made their choice. Now they get to live with the consequences. I'll start making the calls at 4:30. Thank you, Margaret. And Margaret, when they ask why, tell them to contact the bride's family directly. At 4:47 p.m., my phone rang. Dad? Dad? Emma's voice was shrill, panic bleeding through the connection. I could hear chaos in the background, raised voices, someone crying, music that had stopped mid-song. Hello, sweetheart. I was sitting in my home office, a cup of tea cooling beside me. How's your special day going? What did you do? The words came out as a shriek. The caterers are packing up. The photographer just left. Dad, what did you do? I took a slow sip of my tea. Earl Grey, the good kind I'd been saving. I simply updated some vendors on the payment status for services rendered. You can't do this. You can't ruin my wedding because you're having some kind of tantrum. Tantrum. The word hung in the air between us like smoke. I felt something cold and precise settle in my chest. Not anger, not hurt, but something far more dangerous. Clarity. Emma, I said quietly, 3 hours ago you told me this was a group decision, that it would be less stressful if I wasn't there. I'm simply ensuring that your stress levels remain manageable. This is insane. You're acting like a child. Everyone's staring at us. People are leaving. People are leaving? I interrupted, genuinely curious. How interesting. I wonder why they'd do that. Because. She was sobbing now, great heaving gasps that made her words almost unintelligible. Because you're destroying everything. This was supposed to be perfect. It was perfect, darling. Every detail planned, every expense covered, until you decided I shouldn't be there to see it. The line went quiet except for her ragged breathing. When she spoke again, her voice had changed, harder, more calculating. Fine. Fine. What do you want? Money? Is that what this is about? You want us to pay you back? This isn't about money, Emma. Then what? What do you want? I set down my teacup with deliberate care. I want you to explain to your guests why the father of the bride isn't walking you down the aisle. I want you to tell them about the photo at the gate. I want you to own your choice. The phone went dead. 23 minutes later, it rang again. This time, it was my ex-wife. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Sandra's voice was venomous, each word sharp enough to cut glass. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Hello, Sandra. I trust you're enjoying the reception?" "Don't you dare take that tone with me. There are 300 people here watching this family fall apart, and it's all because you couldn't handle being uninvited." I leaned back in my chair, watching clouds drift across the sky through my office window. Uninvited. Is that what we're calling it? Yes, uninvited. Because no one wanted you there. Because you make everything about yourself. Because you're toxic and manipulative and I paid for the entire event. So what? That doesn't give you the right to hold it hostage. I almost laughed. Hostage? Sandra, I'm not holding anything hostage. I'm simply exercising my right to withdraw financial support from people who've made it clear I'm unwelcome. This is Emma's day. Her one perfect day, and you're destroying it. No, I said, and my voice was soft as falling snow. You destroyed it the moment you put my photograph on that security list. I'm just making sure everyone understands what that choice really meant. She was crying now, big, theatrical sobs that I remembered from our marriage. You're sick. You're actually sick. What kind of father does this to his own daughter? The kind who's tired of being treated like a walking wallet. You're going to regret this. Everyone's going to know what you really are now. Everyone's going to see what, Sandra? That I have self-respect, that I won't tolerate being humiliated by my own family. They're going to see that you're petty and vindictive, and I hung up on her mid-sentence. The third call came from Marcus, the band leader, his voice tight with professional concern. "Sir, we've been told there might be payment issues. We're supposed to play until midnight, but—" "Marcus," I interrupted gently, "are you having a good time at the wedding?" "Sir, What? Simple question. Are you enjoying yourself? Is the family treating you well?" There was a pause. "Well, to be honest, sir, it's been a bit chaotic. The bride's been crying. There's some kind of family drama. And frankly, the atmosphere is toxic. I wouldn't say toxic, but tense, very tense. Marcus, I want you to pack up your equipment and leave, right now." "But sir, the contract is void. There will be no payment, and I don't want you and your boys subjected to whatever's happening there. This is not your fault." Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Take your equipment and go home to your families. Send me the bill for your trouble." "Thank you, sir. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened between you all, but this doesn't feel right." After Marcus hung up, I sat in the gathering twilight of my office, listening to the silence. My phone buzzed with incoming texts, angry messages, pleading messages, confused messages from relatives and friends who were starting to piece together what was happening. I turned the phone face down and went to make another cup of tea. They'd wanted me gone. Now they were learning what gone really meant. The pounding on my front door started at 9:17 p.m., aggressive and relentless. I'd been expecting it, honestly. I set down my book, Marcus Aurelius seemed appropriate tonight, and walked to the door with unhurried steps. Through the peephole, I could see Patricia, the groom's mother, her face flushed red with fury, her perfectly styled wedding hair now disheveled. Behind her stood two other figures I couldn't quite make out in the porch light. I opened the door and leaned against the frame, not inviting them in. "I knew it," Patricia spat before I could even say hello. "I knew you'd be nothing but trouble. I told Emma from the beginning. I said that father of yours is going to ruin everything. But did anyone listen? No." "Good evening, Patricia. How was the reception?" Her eyes were wild, mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint. "How was the—" "Are you insane? You destroyed my son's wedding. You destroyed everything." "I did?" I tilted my head, genuinely curious. "That's interesting, because last I checked, I wasn't even allowed on the property." "Don't you dare. Don't you dare stand there and act innocent." She was shrieking now, her voice cracking with rage. "Why couldn't you just accept it? Just stay home quietly? Why do you always have to make everything about you?" I felt that familiar cold calm settle over me like armor. "Always? Patricia, when exactly have I ever made anything about me?" "Every family dinner, every holiday, every single time we try to have a normal conversation, you have to—" "I have to what? Pay for it?" That stopped her mid-sentence. "I'm curious, Patricia. In the 3 years since Emma and Derek got together, how many of those family dinners did you pay for? How many holiday gatherings? How many birthday parties, anniversary celebrations, weekend getaways? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Let me help you with the math, I continued, my voice soft and steady. 0. The answer is 0. But I'm the one who makes everything about myself. That's not money isn't everything. You're absolutely right. It's not everything. Respect, however, is something. Basic human decency is something. Not being treated like a pariah at your own daughter's wedding, that's definitely something. Patricia's companion stepped forward. Derek's sister, Michelle. Uncle Robert, you have to understand, this wasn't personal. Emma was just trying to avoid drama. Drama, I repeated the word slowly, tasting it. Michelle, can you explain to me what drama I was going to cause? Was I planning to object during the ceremony? Start a fight? Make a scene? Well, no, but... So the drama you were avoiding was what? My presence? The sight of me walking my daughter down the aisle? The risk that someone might remember who actually made this wedding possible? Patricia found her voice again, vicious and shaking. You think money gives you the right to control everything. You think because you pay for things, you own people. Something hot and sharp flashed behind my eyes, but I kept my voice level. Patricia, I want you to think very carefully about what you just said. I want you to remember the last time I asked Emma for anything. The last time I demanded she do something because I paid for it. The last time I held money over anyone's head in this family. Silence. Still thinking? Let me help. The answer is never. But today, when your family decided I was unwelcome at an event I financed, what exactly did you think would happen? Did you imagine I'd just smile and keep paying? Did you think I'd send my regards and a check? You're destroying their lives, Patricia screamed. They're getting calls from creditors. The venue is threatening to sue. You're ruining them. I'm not ruining anyone, I said quietly. I'm simply no longer enabling people who treat me like garbage. There's a difference. Michelle was crying now, quiet tears that made her look younger. But they love you. Emma loves you. She was just scared. Scared of what? Scared you'd be disappointed. Scared you'd judge their choices. Scared you'd try to take over like you always. She caught herself, but too late. Like I always what, Michelle? Nothing. I didn't mean, no, please, finish the thought. Like I always take over? Is that what paying for your college tuition was? Taking over? What about when I co-signed Derek's car loan when no bank would touch him? Taking over? When I gave you all the down payment for the house, was that taking over too? The porch fell silent, except for Patricia's ragged breathing. You want to know what taking over looks like? I continued. Taking over looks like making decisions about who can and cannot attend a wedding without consulting the person who made it financially possible. Taking over looks like putting someone's photograph on a security blacklist. Taking over looks like expecting continued generosity from someone you've just publicly humiliated. I stepped back and began closing the door. Wait, Patricia lunged forward. Wait, please. We can fix this. We can work something out. Don't let pride destroy this family. I paused, looking at her through the gap in the door. Patricia, my pride isn't what's destroying this family. My pride is the only thing I have left. The door clicked shut with finality. I woke up Sunday morning to 17 missed calls and 43 unread text messages. But it was the Facebook notification that made me reach for my coffee first. Emma had posted at 4:47 a.m. I'm heartbroken to share that what should have been the happiest day of my life was destroyed by someone who was supposed to love and support me. When you can't handle not being the center of attention for one day, when you're willing to sabotage your own daughter's wedding out of spite, I don't even have words. The vendors walked out, the reception ended early, and all because one person couldn't handle being asked to respect boundaries. I'm devastated, but I'm also free. Free from manipulation, free from emotional blackmail, free from conditional love. To everyone who stayed and helped us salvage what we could of the evening, thank you. You showed me what real family looks like. The post had 247 likes and 89 comments. I scrolled through them, sipping my coffee, watching the narrative take shape in real time. OMG, Emma, I'm so sorry. Some people are just toxic. You're better off without that kind of negativity in your life. What kind of father does that to his own daughter? Prayers for you, honey. Narcissists can't stand not being the center of attention. But then, buried deeper in the comments, wait, didn't your dad pay for the whole wedding? Why wasn't he invited? This doesn't make sense. If he was so terrible, why did you take his money? There's definitely more to this story. And for my sister Claire, bless her, Emma, I love you, but this is not the whole truth. Your father deserves better than this. I set down my phone and made myself a proper breakfast. Eggs Benedict, something I'd learned to make during my marriage and perfected during my divorce. As I hollandaised the sauce, I thought about narrative, about perception, about the stories we tell ourselves and the stories others tell about us. By noon, 3 more family members had called, wanting my side of the story. By evening, the Facebook post had twice as many comments, and the tide was starting to turn. The truth has a way of surfacing, I've found. It just takes patience. And patience, as it happens, is something I've had plenty of practice with. By Tuesday morning, I was trending on local Twitter. #weddingdrama was the hashtag of choice, and apparently, I was the villain of the week. The local lifestyle blogger, Jennifer Matthews, had picked up Emma's story and run with it. Her post, "When family love comes with strings attached, a bride's heartbreaking wedding day," had gone viral in our small city. The comments section was a battlefield. This father is clearly a narcissist. Who ruins their own daughter's wedding? Imagine being so entitled that you think paying for something means you own people. Emma is so brave for sharing this. Financial abuse is real. I hope she cuts him off completely. Toxic parents don't change. I read through them all, sipping my morning coffee, taking notes. The narrative was crystallizing exactly as I'd expected. Emma was the victim, I was the monster, and everyone had an opinion. But buried in the comments, there were questions, small ones, but persistent. If he was so terrible, why did she let him pay for everything? Something's not adding up here. My dad paid for my wedding and he got the honor seat. This seems extreme. By afternoon, Channel 7 News had called. Local wedding drama goes viral was apparently newsworthy enough for the 5 o'clock broadcast. I declined their interview request politely, but I made a mental note. The story was spreading beyond social media now. Emma, however, had no such reservations about publicity. By evening, she'd appeared on 2 local news segments, each time with Derek by her side, both looking appropriately devastated. My father has always been controlling, she told reporter Sarah Chen, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. We thought if we set this one boundary, maybe he'd respect it. But when someone's love is conditional on getting their way. Derek nodded solemnly beside her, his arm protectively around her shoulders. We're just trying to start our marriage without toxic influences. Emma deserves better than emotional manipulation. I turned off the television and reached for my phone. Time to make some calls of my own. The first call was to my attorney, Michael Harrison. I've been following the news coverage, Michael said before I could speak. Interesting situation. Interesting is one word for it. Michael, I need you to do some digging. Financial records, credit applications, anything that might shed light on the young couple's recent financial activities. What exactly are you looking for? I want to know if there's a reason beyond simple cruelty that they wanted me out of the picture. Something tells me there's more to this story. I'll see what I can find. In the meantime, have you considered responding publicly? Not yet. Let them dig the hole a little deeper first. The second call was to Marcus, the band leader who'd packed up early Saturday night. Sir, I hope you don't mind me saying, but this whole thing's been bothering me all week, Marcus said. I've been in this business 12 years, and I've never seen anything like what happened at that wedding. What do you mean? The way they talked about you after you left, the things they were saying, it didn't match up with how they'd treated you before. I remember the planning meetings. You were respectful, generous, easy to work with. But Saturday night, after the chaos started, they were painting you like some kind of monster. What exactly were they saying? The bride's mother-in-law, that Patricia woman, she was telling everyone you'd been threatening them for weeks, said you'd demanded to control every detail of the wedding, that you'd been emotionally abusing the bride. But sir, I saw the planning documents. Your name was on everything as the contact and payment source, but all the decisions were signed off by the bride and groom. My grip tightened on the phone. Marcus, would you be willing to make a statement about what you observed? If you need me to? Yes, sir. What happened to you wasn't right. Wednesday brought more news coverage and a surprise phone call from my ex-wife's sister, Linda. Robert, I need to tell you something. Linda's voice was shaky, nervous, about what really happened before the wedding. I set down my newspaper. I'm listening. I was at Sandra's house last Tuesday. Emma and Derek were there along with Patricia and her husband. They were planning something. Planning what? They had loan documents, Robert. Derek's been approved for a significant business loan, something about starting a consulting firm. But the bank wanted additional collateral, or a cosigner with substantial assets. The pieces began clicking into place in my mind like tumblers in a lock. They were counting on you co-signing after they let you back in, Linda continued, her voice getting stronger as she found her courage. Robert, they never planned to keep you out permanently. This was psychological manipulation. What do you mean? Patricia kept explaining the strategy. She said it was perfect psychology. Make you feel rejected and guilty first. Then when you come crawling back apologizing, you'll agree to anything to prove your love for Emma. He'll be so desperate to get back into Emma's good graces, she kept saying. He'll sign whatever we put in front of him. It's for his daughter's future, after all. The silence stretched between us as the full picture crystallized in my mind. They expected me to beg. They expected you to break. Emma kept saying how you always cave when she cries, how you can't stand being shut out of her life. They figured a few days of you calling and pleading would be enough. Then Derek would graciously convince Emma to forgive you. You'd be so grateful to be back in the family that the loan co-signing would seem like a small price to pay. And the backup plan? The power of attorney thing. That was only if you didn't break fast enough. Patricia said they'd give you 2 weeks maximum before moving to more serious intervention measures. The room went very quiet around me. Outside, I could hear children playing in the park across the street, their laughter bright and innocent in the autumn air. Linda, why are you telling me this now? Because what they did to you at the wedding, that wasn't about protecting Emma from drama. That was about eliminating witnesses. They didn't want you there because they didn't want anyone who might question their story later. Their story? About your mental state, about your inability to make sound financial decisions, about the need for family intervention. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Robert, they were planning to have you declared incompetent. That evening, I sat down at my computer and opened a new document. If Emma wanted to control the narrative, it was time she learned what a real story looked like. I began to type, an open letter to my community. My name is Robert Henderson, and I am the father who ruined his daughter's wedding. You've heard Emma's version of events, and you've drawn your conclusions. I don't blame you. Her story is compelling, and she tells it well. But there are things you haven't heard, documents you haven't seen, and questions that deserve answers. First, let me share some facts. Over the past 3 years, I have contributed approximately $127,000 to my daughter and son-in-law's lifestyle. This includes not just the $43,000 wedding, but also the down payment on their house, $35,000, Derek's car loan co-signature, $28,000, Emma's student loan payments, $15,000, and numerous smaller loans that were never repaid. I mention these numbers not to shame them, but to establish context. This was not the behavior of a controlling, manipulative father. This was love. Generous, perhaps foolish, but undeniably love. Now, let me tell you about Saturday, October 14th from my perspective. I wrote for 3 hours, laying out every detail with surgical precision. The photo at the gate, the calls to vendors, the real reasons behind their decision to exclude me, and finally, what Linda had told me about the loans and the power of attorney plan. When I finished, I read it through twice, checking facts, tempering emotions, ensuring every word was defensible. Then I posted it on Facebook, sent copies to the local news outlets, and emailed it directly to Jennifer Matthews, the blogger who'd started this whole media circus. By morning, #wedding drama had taken on a very different tone. The truth, as I'd learned long ago, doesn't always win immediately, but it has a way of surfacing when you're patient enough to let it. The Channel 7 studio was smaller than I'd imagined, but the cameras made everything feel amplified, more significant. Sarah Chen, the same reporter who'd interviewed Emma earlier that week, sat across from me with a stack of documents on the table between us. Mr. Henderson, thank you for agreeing to speak with us. Your daughter's story has resonated with thousands of people across social media. What would you like our viewers to know? I reached into the folder beside my chair and pulled out the first bank statement. I'd like them to know the truth, Sarah. And I brought receipts. The camera zoomed in as I laid out the documents with methodical precision. Each one was highlighted, tabbed, organized like evidence in a courtroom, which in a way, it was. This is a wire transfer for $43,000 to Millbrook Country Club for wedding venue and catering services. Date, September 15th. I set it down and reached for the next. This is the payment to Harmony Strings Quartet, $3,500. Here's the photographer's deposit, $2,500. The flowers, the cake, the transportation, everything. Sarah leaned forward, studying the documents. And your daughter authorized you to make these payments? Not authorized, begged me to. Here's a text chain from August 12th. I handed her my phone, open to the messages. Emma asking if I could help out with the venue deposit because their savings wasn't enough. Here's another from August 20th, Derek asking about the band payment because they were a little short this month. The reporter read through the messages, her professional mask slipping slightly. Mr. Henderson, in your daughter's public statements, she's painted you as controlling and manipulative. How do you respond to that? I felt that familiar cold calm settle over me. Sarah, I want you to look at those bank statements again. Look at the dates, the amounts, the frequency. If I was trying to control Emma and Derek, wouldn't I have actually controlled something? Made demands? Set conditions? Where are my requirements? My ultimatums? What do you mean? I mean, show me one instance, one email, one text, one witness, where I used money to force my daughter to do anything. Show me where I ever said, do this, or I won't pay for that. Because I've been looking and I can't find it. I pulled out another folder. What I can find is this: 3 years of unconditional financial support, car payments when Derek's credit was shot, student loan help when Emma's job fell through, grocery money when they were between paychecks, Christmas gifts, birthday parties, vacation funds, all given freely, without conditions, without contracts, without IOUs. Sarah was taking notes now, her reporter instincts clearly pinging. So when your daughter says you're financially abusive, I'd like her to define that term, because from where I'm sitting, financial abuse would look like threatening to cut someone off unless they comply with your demands. It would look like holding money over their head to control their behavior. What I did was the opposite. I gave freely and asked for nothing in return. I opened the final folder, except apparently basic human respect. The documents in this folder were different: printed emails, screenshots, phone records. These are communications between Emma, Derek, and the wedding vendors in the weeks before the ceremony. Notice anything interesting? Sarah studied them, her eyebrows rising. They're making changes to vendor contracts without consulting you. They're removing my name from everything. The contact information, the payment authorization, even the basic courtesy of keeping me informed about my own financial commitments. I pointed to a highlighted section. Here, Derek tells the photographer not to worry about getting approval from Emma's father for the shot list because I'm not really involved in the planning anymore. But you were still paying for everything. Every penny. Right up until the morning of the wedding when I discovered I wasn't welcome to attend the event I'd funded. Sarah set down the documents and looked directly into the camera. For our viewers just joining us, we're speaking with Robert Henderson, the father who was barred from his daughter's wedding last Saturday. Mr. Henderson, you've shown us extensive financial records proving you paid for the wedding, but your daughter and her family maintain that you were excluded for their emotional well-being. How do you respond? I leaned back in my chair, feeling the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. Sarah, I want your viewers to imagine something. Imagine you've spent 3 years helping your child and their spouse build their lives. You've never asked for repayment, never demanded gratitude, never held anything over their heads. Then one day, you arrive at an event you financed only to find your photograph at the security gate with instructions to keep you out. My voice remained steady, but I could feel the camera catching something in my eyes, not anger, not hurt, but something far more dangerous. Resolution. What would that tell you about how those people really see you? Not as family, not even as a human being deserving of basic courtesy, but as what? A wallet? A resource to be used and discarded. And when you discovered this, I made a simple decision. If I'm not welcome at the party, I don't need to pay for the party. It's not revenge, Sarah. It's self-respect. The interview aired at 6 p.m. By 8:30, my doorbell was ringing like a fire alarm. Through the peephole, I could see them all. Emma, Derek, Patricia, Sandra, even Derek's father, whom I'd met maybe twice in 3 years. They were huddled together on my front porch like refugees from a storm. I opened the door, but didn't invite them in. Dad, we need to talk. Emma's face was blotchy from crying, her voice hoarse. Behind her, the others shifted nervously, a delegation of the desperate. Hello, Emma? How did the interview go over? Please, can we come in? We can fix this. We can make it right. I leaned against the doorframe, studying their faces. Patricia looked like she'd aged 5 years in 5 days. Sandra couldn't meet my eyes. Derek was sweating despite the cool evening air. Fix what? Exactly. All of it. Emma's voice cracked. The posts, the interviews, the whole mess. Dad, I'll delete everything. I'll post an apology. I'll tell everyone it was all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, I repeated slowly. Yes. We were stressed. Wedding planning is crazy. We made mistakes. Emma, my voice cut through her rambling like ice. Who decided to put my photograph at the security gate? Silence. Simple question. Whose idea was it? She looked back at Derek, then at Patricia, then at her feet. It was a group decision. A group decision. And who took my photo from the family barbecue to make into a security warning? Dad, does it matter? We're here to answer the question. Derek stepped forward, his face pale but determined. I did. I took the photo and had it printed. I nodded slowly. Thank you for your honesty, Derek. Now, Emma, whose idea was the loan applications that required my co-signature? The color drained from her face. How did you? Whose idea? Dad, we can explain that. We were going to talk to you after the wedding when everyone was happy and emotional and grateful and malleable. I looked at each of them in turn. You wanted me broken first, humiliated, desperate to get back into your good graces. Then I'd sign anything, wouldn't I, for my daughter's future. Patricia found her voice, shaky and desperate. Robert, you have to understand, we never meant for it to go this far. It was just strategy. Strategy. The word tasted bitter. Patricia, help me understand the strategy. Step 1, publicly humiliate the man paying for your son's wedding. Step 2, wait for him to grovel. Step 3, exploit his desperation. Is that about right? It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Emma was sobbing now, great heaving gasps. You were supposed to call me. You were supposed to be upset and ask what you did wrong. Then we could have worked it out, and you would have felt so bad that when Derek explained about the business loan, I would have signed without reading the terms. It's for our future, for your grandchildren. Dad, Derek's business could support us for decades, but we need startup capital, and the banks want collateral, and you're the only one who what, Emma? Who loves you enough to be used? Who's stupid enough to sign financial documents while emotionally compromised? She was hyperventilating now, clutching Derek's arm. Please, Dad. Please. We're drowning here. The bank pulled the pre-approval when they saw the news coverage. The wedding vendors are threatening to sue. Patricia's mortgage company is asking questions because she co-signed for our house, and now they're worried about her creditworthiness. Stop. My voice was quiet, but it cut through her panic like a blade. Emma, look at me. She raised her tear-streaked face, and for a moment she looked like the little girl who used to crawl into my lap after nightmares. I need you to understand something, I said gently. The man who would have fixed this for you, who would have made it all go away with a phone call and a checkbook, that man died last Saturday morning when he saw his own face on a security blacklist. Dad, please. The person standing here now is someone different. Someone who's learned that love without respect isn't love at all. It's exploitation. I stepped back and began to close the door. Wait, Derek lurched forwards like desperation making him bold. What do you want? Money? An apology? Tell us what you want. I paused, looking at this man who'd taken my daughter from me, who'd helped plan my humiliation, who was now sweating through his shirt as his carefully constructed future crumbled around him. Derek, I don't want anything from you. That's the point. For the first time in 3 years, I want absolutely nothing from any of you. But we're family, Emma screamed. No, I said quietly. Family doesn't put each other's photos on security blacklists. Family doesn't plot psychological manipulation campaigns. Family doesn't treat love like a business transaction. I looked at each of them one final time. You wanted me gone, remember? Consider your wish granted. The door closed with a soft click, and I turned off the porch light. Behind me, the house was quiet and mine. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. And as always, thank you for watching.